After my niece became the crown princess, her first act was to have our home raided, all because I once stopped her from eloping with a poor scholar. She blamed me for ruining her lifelong happiness, harboring deep hatred for our family. My son's care and protection, in her eyes, were nothing but cold and distant formalities. My daughter's gifts of beloved jewelry and dresses she took as insults. Fortunately, I was reborn on the night before her elopement. Madam, wake up quickly. The gatekeeper at Jade Courtyard has urgent news to report. My eyes snapped open abruptly. Before me was a young, tender face, an oval face, willow, leaf eyebrows, and almond eyes dark as black grapes. This was Willow at 16. Chaotic memories swirled like snowflakes in my mind. My Willow, who had clearly died on the exile road. The wind at the northern frontier was bitingly cold, scraping the skin as if to peel it away. Months of exile had long stripped away all sense of propriety and dignity, erasing the boundaries between men and women. The entire family huddled together in the post-station stable, trembling uncontrollably. I've always been sensitive to the cold, and with my monthly courses arriving, I was already half frozen into a daze. Willow noticed my distress and took off her only padded jacket to drape over my shoulders. The snowstorm ceased, and dawn broke. Willow had also passed away. There were 2 gatekeepers at Jade Courtyard. One slept so soundly that not even splashing water could rouse her. The other was still crouching outside, said to have been plagued by stomach troubles half the night. Willow lifted her head, her tone brimming with indignation. The young miss has vanished. All the silver and jewelry from the room were taken by her, and she left behind a letter. The letter paper was thin, bearing only a few brief lines. She had found her lifelong destination and urged me not to search for her. The scene before me felt all too familiar, so much so that it sent a chill down my spine. Every day and night on the exile road, I lived steeped in heart-wrenching regret. I regret stopping Shen Qingyue from eloping that night. If I hadn't stopped her, none of the subsequent events would have happened. She wouldn't have met the crown prince at the prince's mansion banquet, nor would she, after becoming the crown princess, have falsely accused our family of conspiring with the third prince to rebel, leading to the Qin family's confiscation and ruin. Then, my daughter-in-law wouldn't have miscarried on the exile road. My daughter wouldn't have been kidnapped by bandits. My husband and son wouldn't have been shot dead by bandits while trying to rescue her. All of this is my fault. Fortunately, heaven has given me a chance to start over. Seeing my shifting expression, Willow sighed. The young miss is still immature and prone to momentary folly. The Marquis discussed matters with Master Shangguan until midnight before retiring. Should I wake him and send someone to fetch the young miss back? I fear if we go too late, a lone man and woman together could harm the young miss's reputation. I sat quietly on the bed, watching the flickering candle flame before me. Shen Qingyue is the youngest daughter of my elder sister. My brother-in-law was a military officer who unfortunately perished under the hooves of the grassland nomads, leaving behind a family of widows and orphans. My sister, frail and often ill, frequently wrote to me to share her hardships. She said that her daughters-in-law resented Shen Qingyue for being favored and constantly bullied her, both openly and covertly. Moreover, Shen Qingyue was already 14, soon to reach the age of coming of age. Being far away in the frontier, it was truly difficult to find a suitable match for her. She wished to entrust Shen Qingyue to me, hoping I could find her a well-off family in the capital to spare her from suffering in a remote border town. Shen Qingyue arrived in the capital empty-handed, without maids or servants. Her pockets were emptier than her face. Not even a hairpin adorned her head. Every inch of her screamed destitution. It was only later that I learned she had originally traveled with a nursemaid and 2 maids. My sister had even gritted her teeth and given half of her private savings to serve as her dowry, a full 500 taels. Yet, just before reaching the capital, Shen Qingyue had sold off the maids and nursemaid, all because she met a handsome scholar on her way to the capital for the imperial exams. Not only did she pledge herself to him in secret, but she also gave him all her money for travel expenses. She waited, believing he would become the top scholar and marry her with a grand procession, making her the top scholar's wife. Her nanny and maid took turns warning her that the scholar was no good man. Shen Qingyue couldn't bear to hear her beloved slandered, so she sold them both. If not for running out of money, she would never have come to the Marquis's estate to seek recognition as kin. Within days of arriving, she began asking me, openly and subtly, what kind of marriage I planned for her. What was it I said back then? A woman marries for clothing and food. Don't worry, your aunt will surely find you a perfectly matched family of good standing. Shen Qingyue tentatively asked me, Aunt, I've heard officials often keep multiple wives and concubines. Why not find me a scholar instead? I curled my lip in disdain. What's so good about scholars? So many study their whole lives. How few ever pass the provincial or imperial exams. Even if one passes the imperial exams, without family backing, they'd only end up as a petty official. Isn't becoming an official the very reason scholars study? Then why not just marry an official directly and spare ourselves the hardship? You're still young and don't understand. Money and power are the ultimate tonics for a marriage, the strongest kind. Shen Qingyue stopped bringing up marriage with me after that. Later, she packed her belongings and eloped with that scholar, but we tracked them down overnight and brought her back. My husband has a fiery temper. He had the scholar beaten and driven out of the capital. To his credit, that scholar proved resilient. He eventually passed the highest imperial exams, married the daughter of the Minister of Revenue, and became his esteemed son-in-law. After marrying, he doted on the minister's daughter and became praised throughout the capital as the ideal husband. And because of this, Shen Qingyue grew to resent us. Before we were exiled, she made a point to visit me. She sat elegantly in a chair, watching as our family was stripped of our fine robes and mansion, forced to kneel wretchedly on the ground. Aunt, do you have any idea how I've lived all these years? All I've ever wanted in this life is to be with one person, forever. If it weren't for you, why would I weep day after day in the Crown Prince's palace? I was forced to scheme against woman after woman. Those consorts all came from noble families and never once regarded me with respect. Apart from the title of Crown Princess, I have nothing. But that day, it was clearly she who drunkenly stumbled into the Crown Prince's chambers by mistake. To secure her position as primary consort, the entire Marquis estate nearly exhausted all its connections and paid a steep price. And that Warren Zhou, a commoner who married above his station to a minister's daughter, his entire future and fortune rest in his in-law's hands. How would he dare take a concubine? Shen Qingyue simply refused to listen to my explanation. Silence. How dare you, you wretched woman, slander Warren's noble character? You, who cling to power and influence, assume everyone else craves the favor of the powerful and noble. Since you love power so much, I will make sure you become the lowliest of the low. I will leave you destitute and miserable, forcing you to live out the rest of your days like a dog in the gutter. The heavy door curtain lifted as a chill wind swept into the room with the maid's skirt, making me shiver. Madam, the master has learned of Miss Cousin's incident and specifically sent the butler to inquire. I slowly straightened my posture. Willow, inform the master that regarding Miss Cousin's matter, I have my own plans. Tell him to rest early. After Willow left, sleep eluded me entirely. I simply draped my robe over my shoulders, stood up, and stared blankly while clutching that letter. Something's wrong. This isn't right. In my past life, I remember both door-keeping matrons were in deep slumber. One of them suddenly woke from her sleep and came to report. Unlike this time, where one was unconscious and the other had diarrhea, it was only when the guards patrolled and found no one at the gatehouse that they informed me. Could it be that Shen Qingyue has also been reborn? Willow, summoned Miss Cousin's personal maid. Liuli soon arrived with a pale face, wordlessly kneeling and kowtowing forcefully before me. Madam, it was this servant's failure to watch over Miss properly. She was originally a second, rank made by my side, known for being exceptionally steady and reliable. Tell me, has Miss shown any unusual behavior these past few days? Leolie frowned, pondering carefully. The day before yesterday, during her nap, Miss suddenly had a nightmare and woke up crying. Last night, while I was keeping watch, I heard her call out, "Your Highness," in her sleep. Perhaps she was having some dream. Your Highness? That wretched girl. She has indeed been reborn as well. Early the next morning, as soon as the capital prefecture opened, I personally took my people to report the case at the yamen. I wiped my tears, my eyes red and swollen. Sir, how dare such a reckless villain act so boldly right under the Emperor's nose? My niece is the descendant of loyal ministers and virtuous generals, raised with the utmost understanding of propriety and integrity. She would never elope with anyone. It must be that scoundrel who scaled our walls, drugged the gatekeeper, kidnapped my niece, and fabricated this elopement illusion. The room was turned upside down in disarray. All valuable jewelry and clothing had been swept clean. If it were an elopement, why would it resemble a bandit's raid? I implore your honor to swiftly apprehend that reckless scoundrel. The capital prefecture was astounded. How dare such bandits break into the Loyalty and Righteousness Marquis estate to kidnap someone? Guards, assemble the men at once and arrest those outlaws. A beautiful young lady, a handsome scholar, both had striking appearances, and with their lack of vigilance, they were escorted to the capital prefecture within half a day. Warren Zhou, pale as a ghost, was dragged into the yamen while loudly proclaiming his innocence. I studied him carefully. His face was as flawless as jade, his demeanor exceptional. Dressed in an elegant blue robe, he resembled an emerald bamboo, standing tall in heavy snow, piled mountains like jade, arranged pines like emerald. Just looking at him cooled my anger by a third. Truly, he was blessed with remarkable looks. Compared to the honest-looking crown prince, he was handsomer by several degrees. No wonder Shen Qinyue couldn't forget him and later managed to climb her way up to the Minister of Revenue all by herself. Seeing Warren Zhou restrained by the constables, Shen Qinyue was heartbroken. How dare you tie someone up for no reason? Just because you're an official, does that give you the right to bully others with your power? The capital prefecture's face darkened. Miss Shen, watch your words. It was your aunt who reported the case, which is why I ordered you to be brought in. Shen Qinyue stared coldly at me, her beautiful almond eyes filled with resentment. She's just an aunt. I have my grandparents and my own mother. What right does she have to decide for me? I immediately clutched my chest, my face a mix of 2 parts anger, 3 parts disbelief, 4 parts sorrow, and 1 part hope. What nonsense are you spouting? Your mother entrusted you to me, repeatedly urging me to find you a reliable husband. You've always been the most filial and sensible child. Were you forced into this by that scoundrel? Don't worry, with your aunt here, I won't let that villain harm you again. The onlookers and the capital governor all cast sympathetic glances my way. The capital prefecture has always been the liveliest place in the capital. Many idlers and second-generation heirs with too much time on their hands love to gather at the prefecture gates to watch the capital governor preside over cases. Even the finest performers at the opera house only sing the same few tunes over and over. It's not like the capital prefecture, where every day brings a new case. Didn't they say the Zhongyong Marquis' household was strict with their upbringing? How did this Miss Qin end up eloping with someone? That girl isn't from the Qin family. She's a cousin who came seeking refuge and just arrived in the capital last month. What do you stinking men know? That scholar is so handsome. The Marchioness must be trying to break them apart. Exactly. I bet the Marchioness was forcing her to marry some ugly son of the powerful and noble, and Miss Shun had no choice but to elope. At that moment, some idlers who loved stirring up trouble shouted at me at the top of their lungs, "Madam, when heaven sends rain and a widow remarries, why stand in her way?" Exactly. This scholar is quite handsome. Why not let them be together? Seeing she had supporters, Shen Qinyue grew even more emboldened. Bah! Zhou Lang has never harmed me. He's always treasured me like a pearl, cradling me in his palms. The ones who hurt me are clearly you and your Qin family." At these words, the onlookers erupted in excitement. "Oh, the Qin family mistreats their niece. No wonder Miss Shen wants to elope. For a young lady of noble birth to cast aside propriety and run off with an outsider. She must have suffered greatly at home." With a dark expression, I asked coldly, "Wort by wort, pray tell, how exactly has my Qin family harmed you?" Shen Qingyue glared at me furiously, her chest heaving with emotion. Suddenly, she knelt down and kowtowed to the capital governor. "Your Honor, I accuse the Marquis of Zhongyong's estate of mistreating Ken, showing neither benevolence nor compassion." Her voice trembled, and her kneeling figure appeared pitifully frail and small. The capital governor's gaze toward me instantly grew, weighted with implication. The clamor outside swelled like rising waves, growing louder and more intense. How cruel the Marquise is to mistreat her own niece. No wonder the niece tried to elope. She must have been driven to it. But Madame Qin is known for her kindness. She gives alms and hosts poor charity every year. Last Laba Festival, I even received pastries and porridge from her. She doesn't seem the type. What do you know? These powerful and noble types are the worst for hiding malice behind gentle words. A Buddha's mouth, but a viper's heart. Willow, standing beside me, was so angered she began to cry. I watched Shen Qingyue coldly as she knelt on the ground. She truly hates me, so much that, even reborn into a new life, she still tries to drag me down from the heights and trample me into the mud. Ruining my reputation and that of the Marquis estate is only the first step of her revenge. Last time, she could harm me, only because she was my niece. I never doubted or guarded against her. An enemy's blade cannot wound me, but a dagger stabbed from behind dealt a fatal blow. Shen Qingyue is now my enemy. Lady Shen, do you know what consequences this accusation would bring? The capital governor turned his head, his gaze deep and unfathomable like a pond. By the laws of this dynasty, your aunt would be stripped of her noble title, and if the case is severe, she would also face corporal punishment, light as 10 strokes, heavy as 50. Even so, do you still wish to proceed? There was more the capital governor left unsaid. If the accusation is proven true, the Marquis estate's reputation would plummet. My engaged daughter would be rejected by her future in laws. My son would likely find no further success in his official career. The sage values righteousness above all. Good heavens, she must also endure the rod, but she is her own flesh and blood aunt. Though Miss Shen looks a bit thin, she seems quite robust to me. Exactly, without any beatings or serious offenses. Taking this straight to court shows no regard for family ties, doesn't it? The capital governor raised a hand to silence the crowd. Lady Shen, do you wish to proceed with this lawsuit? Shen Qingyue nodded firmly, her resolute voice carrying the bitterness of 2 lifetimes. Your Honor, I insist on proceeding. To file a lawsuit, one must present evidence. Shen Qingyue began listing the Qin family's crimes one by one before the capital governor and countless spectators in the court. My aunt is the epitome of hypocrisy. She claims to treat me equally to her own children, yet our monthly allowances are completely different. I receive only 20 taels of silver per month. When I asked my cousin about hers, she refused to disclose her allowance. It's obvious she gets far more, while I'm given mere scraps. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. In her previous life, Shen Qingyue was resented by her sisters in law precisely because of her mother's favoritism. Everything from food and clothing to living arrangements prioritized her above all others. They sent her all the way to the capital knowing I am generous, skilled at managing dowries, and have substantial wealth. After Shen Qingyue arrived at my residence, I was very liberal with her in terms of money and valuables. Later, when she married into the crown prince's palace, although she had to engage in scheming, she never worried about food or clothing. She has lived too comfortably for too long. She has forgotten how significant 20 taels of silver is to ordinary people, enough for a family of 4 or 5 to live comfortably for a year. Willow could no longer hold back. and scolded indignantly. Miss didn't say it because her monthly allowance is only 10 taels. The madam, considering you've just arrived in the capital and would surely want to buy fashionable items, set your monthly allowance at 20 taels. Miss is kind-hearted and didn't want you to feel uncomfortable upon learning this, which is why she kept it quiet. The onlookers fell into a stunned silence. Good heavens, 20 taels a month without lifting a finger? Is this considered mistreatment? Can the Marchioness mistreat me like this too? Oh my, for them, dozens or even hundreds of taels are just a drop in the bucket. Miss Shen must have suffered other forms of mistreatment. Seeing their reaction, Shen Qinghua grew flustered. She turned her head to glare at Willow. You're lying. You're a maid from the Marquis household. Of course you'd speak in your master's favor. Willow retorted indignantly. My miss has always received a 10-tael monthly allowance. Many of her bosom friends can attest to this. If you don't believe it, we can certainly call witnesses. Moreover, the madam manages the household strictly. All expenses are recorded in ledgers, and everyone's monthly allowances are clearly and accurately documented. Surely they wouldn't forge years old ledgers just to deceive you. I let out a somber sigh, summon the butler, and have him bring the account books. Shen Qinghua hadn't anticipated this turn of events. She bit her lip lightly, quickly devising another plan. She's just pretending all of this. That day, she took us to Brocade Pavilion to buy fabric, picking over a dozen of the finest and trendiest for my cousin, but chose a plain white cloth for me. She just looks down on me for not having a father. Boo-hoo. But my father was killed by the grassland people while defending our borders, and she used a plain white cloth to mock me. The onlookers' gazes shifted from sympathy to accusation. Wow, that's bullying someone for not having a dad. How awful. No wonder Miss Shin ran away. See, I told you, these high society women are all honey, mouth but dagger-hearted. Exactly. She gave silver because she has plenty. 20 taels is like a strand of hair to her. What kind of good Anne is that? Putting on a generous front while stabbing someone in the back. Facing Shen Qinghua's triumphant look, I simply raised my hand toward the capital governor. Your Honor, please summon the Brocade Pavilion shopkeeper. Brocade Pavilion is the largest embroidery house in the capital. It's said the embroidery house's owner behind the scenes is the 7th prince, and it gathers the finest embroiderers from across the land. High officials and nobles would order several fashionable garments from Brocade Pavilion when traveling. Even common peddlers and laborers would grit their teeth to buy at least a handkerchief if they couldn't afford clothes, just to bring some glory to their wives and daughters. The shopkeeper soon arrived. After understanding the situation, he looked at Shen Qinghua with an exceptionally complicated expression. That day, Madame Qin did indeed bring Miss Qin and Miss Shen to buy clothes. Madame Qin selected 9 bolts of fabric for Miss Qin and ordered 12 garments. For Miss Shen, she bought 1 bolt of fabric and ordered 1 or 2 dresses. Shen Qinghua immediately covered her face with a handkerchief, weeping like a rain-drenched pear blossom. Wah, I know I shouldn't complain even if it's just 1 bolt of fabric, but I accidentally overheard the servants in the household say that my aunt dislikes me, that she blames me for my father's death. She even called me a jinx, saying she only took me in for the sake of appearances. That's why she bought white fabric for me, saying I'm as ill-omened as that bolt of white cloth. I was clearly forced to leave, yet she dares to twist the truth and accuse Zhou Lang at the authorities. Sob, such a vicious heart. The manager of Jinxiu Pavilion frowned deeply. Miss Shen, perhaps say less. Shen Qinghua pretended to be afraid and hunched her shoulders. Sob, yes, I won't speak anymore. It's all my fault for coming to seek refuge with my aunt. With my father dead, I am an ill-omened person. Sob, tears streaming like pear blossoms. Her delicate frame appeared utterly pitiful. Even the capital governor's face showed a trace of sympathy. Having spent years in the crown prince's palace, her acting is masterful, surpassing even renowned opera performers. I didn't need to speak at all. The manager of Jinxiu Pavilion naturally defended me. His face flushed red. beard bristling with anger. Miss Shun, stop this nonsense. What ill-omened white cloth? That is clearly the priceless starlight brocade. Even with Miss Chin purchasing so much fabric, it only cost 80 taels of silver. That single bolt of fabric costs 500 taels. Shen Qinghua was stunned. Starlight brocade is the signature fabric of Brocade Pavilion, rumored to be woven with ancient secret techniques. When made into clothing, it shimmers with a flowing light as one moves, especially under moonlight. It becomes even more pronounced, as if draping the cool moonlight over oneself. If a young lady had even a few feet of starlight brocade in her dowry, her family would boast about it for ages. Even the imperial consort in the palace adored starlight brocade, having several dresses made from it. Among the powerful and noble, it was practically a must-have garment. Even if a family fell on hard times and couldn't afford clothing, they'd still make a few handkerchiefs from it to carry around. So, how could I possibly say that she was as ill-omened as starlight brocade? It's also her own fault for being so narrow-minded. Back then, she only glanced hastily at the fabric the shopkeeper presented, didn't even look closely, then turned pale, claimed a stomachache, and hurried back to the manor. Given her narrow-mindedness, she never imagined I would actually splurge on starlight brocade for her. The shopkeeper also brought along 2 dresses, made from the starlight brocade this time. He picked up the dresses to show everyone. One was a fairy's paws skirt, the other a moonlight skirt. The fairy's paws skirt was said to make even celestial maidens halt in admiration. Exquisite pearls embroidered intricate patterns across it, and with every sway of the skirt, radiant light shimmered so brilliantly it dazzled the eyes. The moonlight skirt featured subtle patterns embroidered with hidden stitches and traced with powdered seashells. Even resting quietly, it emitted a soft, ethereal glow, as if the skirt weren't woven from silk thread, but spun from moonlight by the weaving made of heaven. Every woman present was utterly mesmerized. If someone gifted me these 2 skirts, I'd even be willing to trade my own father for them. How I envy her. Why isn't Madame Chin my aunt? Even if Madame Chin truly meant to kill me, I'd accept it, as long as she'd bury me with these 2 dresses. Pa, are you dreaming? Such good fortune would never fall to you. Warren Zhou remained silent, merely shuffling his feet to distance himself from Shen Qinghua. Faced with overwhelming public opinion, Shen Qinghua momentarily faltered before gritting her teeth and counterattacking. Your Honor, my aunt, she mistreats me with food. She buys the finest large fish for my cousin, yet gives me fish no thicker than a thumb, full of bones. Having grown up in the borderlands, I've never been skilled at eating fish, and have choked on bones twice because of it. I've heard some even die from fish bones, but my cousin's fish has no bones at all. Willow laughed in exasperation. This is truly like the dog that bit Lu Dongbin, unable to recognize a good heart. That thumb-sized fish was the divine fish, specially ordered by the madam for you, a tribute delicacy costing 1,000 coins per tael. The divine fish, also known as Yangtze shad. Its bones are fine, but its flavor is exquisite, with a price rivaling gold and jade. It seems Shen Qinghua truly failed as the crown princess. After years as the crown princess, she never even got to taste a single divine fish. The onlookers' gazes shifted from sympathy to confusion, then to disdain and anger. I can't take it anymore. My fists are clenched. All this talk about the Marquis's wife mistreating her, and it turns out she was being served divine fish. I heard from my wife's aunt's cousin. She washes vegetables in the Prime Minister's kitchen. That a single plate of that fish costs dozens of taels of silver. Now I get it. This Miss Shun is just too low-born to appreciate luxury. She mistakes pearls for fish eyes. Not only is she wretched, but she's also malicious. Always suspecting the Marquis's wife means her harm. I've never seen such an ungrateful wretch. The Marquis's wife is truly pitiable. If I were her, I'd be furious to death. Shen Qinghua paid no mind to the crowd's chatter. To her, those people were mere ants. Why would she care about the opinions of ants? But she never expected Warren Zhou to look at her with such disgust and contempt. At that, Shen Qinghua completely broke down. I want to accuse her of poisoning. Shen Jiaoning. She tried to poison me. Heh, so you dare call me by my full name now, not even addressing me as aunt. As soon as I entered the manor, Shen Jiaoning called a doctor for me. The medicine prescribed by that doctor made me feel worse the more I took it. After taking that medicine, I would inexplicably develop a high fever at night. Later, I secretly poured the medicine away, and only then did my health not collapse. I too am a daughter from a respectable family. The reason I eloped with Shou Lang was out of sheer desperation, just to save my life. I think Shen Qinghua is truly ill, seriously ill. You are my own niece by blood. Since I agreed to let you come to the capital, I naturally promised your mother to take good care of you. Tell me, why would I want to poison you for no reason? Shen Qinghua's face paled. Then she lashed out recklessly. Because you're jealous of me. You know Marquis Qin has taken a liking to me. So, you're trying to find a way to kill me. Not only Lord Qin, but also my cousin. My cousin admires me. This is why you poison me. I jolted to my feet in shock, and the capital governor couldn't help but gasp aloud. The onlookers erupted into a frenzy, spreading the word and urging all their relatives to come witness this earth-shattering spectacle. Unbelievable. Father and son vying for their niece, and Madame Qin kills her in a fit of rage. Heavens, at 50 years old, I never thought I'd live to see such a drama. I must hurry and call my sister-in-law and mother to come see. Wife, you must hold our spot. Shen Qinghua's confident, sworn demeanor even made me begin to doubt. Could it be that my husband, and even my son, truly have their eyes on her? But as I recall, since she entered our household, my husband has only spoken one sentence to her. Since you've come to your aunt's home, treat it as your own. My son buries himself in studies at the academy, and after his engagement, he's been even more disciplined, never interacting much with this cousin. Although, whenever he saw trendy and amusing things on the street, he would always buy 2 extra copies, one for his daughter and one for her. Could it be because of this? But such romantic entanglements are the hardest to prove oneself innocent of. I absolutely cannot let my husband and son bear such a reputation of disregarding moral principles. The capital governor also knew the gravity of the matter. He slammed the gavel. Shen, do you know that slandering someone's innocence is a serious crime? You claim that Marquis Qin and the young Marquis admire you. Do you have any evidence? Shen Qinghua, with reddened eyes, glanced at Warren Zhou, then turned her head away and straightened her back. Your Honor, this humble woman dares not speak nonsense. Shen Qinghua said that every time my son returns home from the academy, he gives her gifts, without fail. Not just me, even the butler breathed a sigh of relief. Miss Cousin, you are an outsider and unfamiliar with how our young Marquis conducts himself. He has always been generous. Every time he returns from studying, he brings home whatever delicious or amusing things he sees along the way. Not just you, even the well-known maids and matrons in the mansion receive them. Here, these are the vine bracelets you mentioned. I happen to have a pair too. The young master asked me to give them to my wife and daughter for fun, but I haven't had the chance to deliver them yet. The onlookers were greatly disappointed. We thought she had some dirt on him, but it turned out to be this. Everyone in the capital knows how generous Lord Qin is. Last time, I just wished him well, and he rewarded me with a couple of Zhang's sesame cakes. Ha ha ha. I bet he gave those cakes to Miss Shen too. Miss Shen, don't tell me Lord Qin also has his eye on Lai the Third? I see it now. This Miss Shen really is unwell, probably suffering from lovesick madness. No wonder she tried to elope with some scholar she met on the road. Shen Qinghua was so furious, she nearly toppled over backward. You're the one with lovesick madness. The capital governor impatiently struck his gavel. Order in the court. Shen, do you have any other evidence? Shen Qinghua still refused to give up. Lord Qin also gave me gifts, and all of them were lavish gifts. Fox, fur cloaks, gemstones, and he even gifted me a whole pack of pearls. The butler laughed in disbelief. Cousin, Who do you think our young master inherited such extravagance from? The fox, fur cloaks, gemstones, and pearls Marquichin gave you all came from the estate's treasury. He didn't just gift them to you, he gave them to Miss as well. His intention in presenting you with such treasures was to reassure you of your place here, showing he treats you and Miss with equal regard. Willow clenched her fists, looking as if she could bite Shen Qingyue to death. And to think Our Lady even prepared a dowry for you, a full 60, 8 chests. Shen Qingyue had truly run out of tricks. She raised her voice, shrieking shrilly. The doctor can testify. If it wasn't out of jealousy and hatred for me, why would Shen Jiaoning go to such lengths to poison me? Thinking about how, in my past life, a woman like this brought ruin to my family, I felt the urge to vomit blood. As the thought lingered, a metallic sweetness rose in my throat. Gah! Willow's face turned ashen with fright. Oh no, Madam has coughed up blood from anger. I took out a handkerchief to wipe the blood from the corner of my mouth. Don't panic. It's just a surge of agitated energy affecting the heart. Willow, take my calling card and invite Imperial Physician Lin for a visit. Imperial Physician Lin has retired from office and now resides near the capital governor's residence. He offers free medical treatment to the poor for 3 days each month in the western part of the capital, earning him an excellent reputation among the people, who affectionately call him the Old Immortal. Ahem, this old man is right here. The onlookers were startled. Old Immortal, why didn't you say you were watching the commotion? I could have saved you a good spot. Make way, make way. Let the Old Immortal through quickly. Imperial Physician Lin stepped forward, saw Shen Qingyue kneeling on the ground, and snorted with disdain. So it's you who dumped the medicine I prescribed? You're so young, yet you overthink everything. Overly sensitive, convinced that everyone means you harm. Anger harms the liver, grief harms the lungs, overthinking harms the spleen, fear harms the kidneys. 16 in age, but with the body of a 30-year-old, with weak internal organs and deficient qi and blood. It's no wonder she's so sensitive to cold. After taking my medicine to replenish qi and blood, the body naturally generates heat. So many precious herbs in that prescription, all wasted by you. After saying all this in one breath, Imperial Physician Lin was slightly winded. He paused, turned away in disgust, and refused to look at Shen Qingyue any longer, bowing respectfully to the capital governor. Your Honor, this ungrateful wretch, who knows neither right from wrong nor shame, this wolf in sheep's clothing, must not be leniently treated. With each word he spoke, Shen Qingyue seemed to shrink further. By the end, she collapsed to the ground, her face deathly pale. The capital governor cast a disdainful glance at her and declared loudly, "Guards, the accused woman Shen has falsely accused her elders and slandered an imperial official. In consideration of her father's sacrifice for the nation, she is sentenced to 30 strokes and 3 years of hard labor." Shen Qingyue suddenly lifted her head and crawled toward Warren Zhou, tears streaming down her face. "Warren, oh Warren, save me." Warren Zhou leaped back 3 feet in an instant. "What Warren? Slandering me, Your Honor. She's slandering me. I am completely innocent with her. We never pledged ourselves to each other. She came to me weeping, saying her aunt abused her and she feared for her life. Only out of past acquaintance did I extend a hand to rescue her." Shen Qingyue froze in disbelief. She stared fixedly at Warren Zhou, as if trying to bore a hole through his face with her gaze. "Warren, what's wrong with you? Has that woman coerced you? Shen Jiaoning threatened you, didn't she?" She whipped her head around, her eyes like venom, dipped daggers. "Shen Jiaoning, why won't you just let me be? Why can't you allow Warren and me to live our lives in peace?" Everyone present could no longer bear to watch. Heavens, you're even blaming Madame Qin for this. Madame Qin is truly wronged. Is there a more devoted aunt in all the world? This isn't a niece. It's a debt collector. I coughed up another mouthful of blood. Actually, this blood was from earlier. I hadn't spat it all out. And with so many people watching, I felt too embarrassed to spit again, so I held it in my mouth. Imperial Physician Lin hurried over to check my pulse. Then his brow relaxed. It's nothing. Just take 1 dose of medicine, and you'll be fine. Getting this resentment off your chest is actually beneficial for your health. The capital governor sent people to drag Shen Qinghua away as she struggled desperately. Meanwhile, Warren Zhou was frantically explaining to everyone, trying to distance himself from her. How could I ever marry such a woman, devoid of virtue and gratitude? I've read so many classics and know well that one should marry a virtuous wife. This woman must truly be afflicted with lovesick madness. First, she falsely accused the Marquis and the heir, and now she's biting at me like a rabid dog. Everyone must believe me. There is absolutely no relationship between us. This is where Warren Zhou's cunning truly shines. From the moment he entered the yamen, he only cried unjust twice. Everything else was said by Shen Qinghua. Now, he's trying to wash his hands clean of it all. Shen Qinghua laughed. She threw her head back and cackled wildly for a moment, then suddenly dropped to her knees again. Your Honor, I have already given my purity to Warren Zhou. I beg you to uphold justice. If he refuses to marry me, then it is nothing less than the defilement of an official's daughter. Warren Zhou was dumbstruck, then began hopping with agitation. You're slandering me. What proof do you have? Shen Qinghua laughed. She lunged toward Warren Zhou, snatched the pouch from his waist, and pulled out a snow-white handkerchief. On the cloth, a vivid red stain stood out starkly, like a crimson plum blossom in snow. Your Honor, this is the proof. Last night, we pledged ourselves in secret and consummated our marriage at the inn. Warren Zhou blurted out in agitation. How was that a wedding night? You threw yourself at me. Why would I pass up a free ride? I rose to my feet, leaning on Willow's arm. Your Honor, Shen Qinghua may be unkind, but I cannot be unjust. Since she so admires Warren Zhou and has already consummated their union, she deserves a proper resolution. A daughter of the Shen family should not be taken advantage of without consequence. This way, I can also give my sister an explanation. The onlookers were moved. Heavens, Madame Qin is truly a noble soul. To have such an aunt is a blessing earned over lifetimes. It's a pity Shen Qinghua doesn't cherish it. And that scholar, too, wasting his handsome face. Does he think a young lady from an official family is some brothel girl to be bedded so casually? An ungrateful wretch and a shameless scoundrel. They deserve to be shackled together. Your Honor, let them marry, so they won't go on to harm other innocent men and women. Marry. Warren Zhou is a commoner from the outskirts, living not far from the capital. His parents and the village chief were quickly summoned, and in the presence of numerous citizens and the capital governor, they signed the marriage contract and completed the wedding agreement. From the moment the capital governor announced their marriage, Warren Zhou stood as if possessed, utterly motionless and unresponsive. He signed when told to sign, pressed his fingerprint when instructed, like a puppet devoid of a soul. Shen Qinghua howled and wailed as she received 30 strokes of the rod. In the end, it was Warren Zhou's mother, her face dark with anger, who called for a cart to drag her back home. Without understanding anything, they were forced to take home a daughter-in-law, and this daughter-in-law still had to serve 3 years of hard labor. Disgusted by Shen Qinghua, the capital governor assigned her to clean horse manure from the streets. She started work at Mao hour 5:07 a.m. and could not return home until hour 5:07 p.m. As for me, I became an object of sympathy throughout the capital. Even when I went out to buy a lamb flatbread, the shopkeeper would give me 2 extra scoops of meat. Madame Qin, you've suffered such injustice. That niece of yours is truly despicable. By the time my sister received the letter and sent someone galloping to the capital, Shen Qinghua had already been shoveling horse manure for a month. I tracked down the maidservant and wet nurse she had sold off and sent them back to their hometown with proper care. The 2 of them wept bitterly before my sister, spilling every last detail of Shen Qinghua's misdeeds. Her brothers and sisters-in-law were all ashamed of her. even considering expelling her from the family. My sister vehemently objected. In the end, they could only send Shen Qingyue 100 taels of silver. The servant delivered the silver and left without a backward glance. He did leave a message with the gatekeeper, though, saying the reason they didn't come to pay respects at the Marquis estate was because the Shen family had no face to see me. I didn't want Shen Qingyue to die. For her now, death would be a release. She was always fastidious about cleanliness, changing clothes 3 times a day. The incense in her room never ceased burning. Her clothes were perfumed. Her rooms were scented. Even the rice paper she used for painting was infused with fragrance. But now, her nose could only smell the foul stench of horse manure. Warren Zhou detested her. If not for her daily chore of sweeping manure on the streets, he would have long since beaten her to death. According to the laws of this dynasty, beating one's wife without cause is a serious crime. He still aspired to earn an official title, so he couldn't afford to give people grounds for criticism, not daring to hit her openly. The Zhou family tormented her in secret. They made her live in the cowshed and denied her even a single meal. Starving to the brink, Shen Qingyue went to fight with a group of little beggars for scraps outside an inn. The little beggars grew furious, surrounded her, and gave her a beating. You manure, sweeping hag, didn't you used to turn up your nose even at divine fish, with a scholar husband? Yet you come to steal from us. How shameless. Beat her to death. I stood at the street corner with Willow, quietly watching this scene. Willow's expression was complex. Madam, what do you think she's trying to achieve with all this? She was once a proper official's daughter. I tightened my fox, for cloak around myself. The wind is picking up. Let's go home. Heaven's wrath can still be survived. But self-inflicted doom is inescapable. I had thought Shen Qingyue would immediately shovel horse manure for 3 years. Who could have imagined she would resort to murder? She bought knockout drugs and slipped them into the family water jar. After the elderly Zhou couple and Warren Zhou were drugged unconscious, she took a knife and slit their throats. Warren Zhou suffered the most gruesome death. The wind at the northern frontier was bitingly cold, scraping the skin as if to peel it away. Neighbors who heard the chopping on the Zhou family's cutting board all night were so terrified they felt ill for days. As for Shen Qingyue, after killing the Zhou family, she decisively used a belt to hang herself from the roof beam. In just one night, all 4 members of the household perished. Rumor has it was because Warren Zhou wanted to take a concubine. When Willow came to tell me the news, I was stunned for a long time. Dead? All of them? Willow nodded vigorously. Yes, died horribly. I heard several constables sent to the scene vomited. Serves them right. Outside, the snow was falling heavily. Flakes as large as goose feathers drifted and danced. A vast expanse of pure white, pristine and clean.